Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to the pod. I cannot believe that I'm doing a live right now. When I tell y'all I have not live streamed in I don't know how long, somebody let me know. If anybody's watching this, if anybody tunes in, let me know when was the last time I went live because I honestly don't remember. Like truly live right here in person. I'm talking to y'all right now. I don't even remember the last time I did it. At one point, I was doing this every week. So that's why I'm kind of like flipping out about it. But anyway, I'm so glad to be back. And we're going to be talking about Michael Jackson's Thriller 40th documentary, as you can tell by the title. Um, and this is kind of crazy because I was looking through some of my old episodes and I saw that I actually did an episode about Thriller 40 like a year ago, but this was when the album dropped. And so it was a whole thing about that. And then I think they had announced that there was going to be a documentary. So that was a year ago, you guys, like a year ago. It does not seem like it's been that long, but it has been. And now we're circling back around to the topic, but we're talking about the documentary today, which was just recently released earlier this month. If you're coming across this for the first time, hello, I'm Tiffany, and thank you for watching. Um, Let me know, like, have y'all seen the documentary? What do you think about it? Please sound off in the live discussion. I would love to know, like, everybody's opinion on it, what your perspective was, because I'm gonna get into it. Um, I really want to know what the consensus is in the MJ fandom, because to be honest, I really have not been like privy to what's going on in the fandom. Obviously, I knew that this was coming out, but I really don't know like what everybody else is saying about it or even what general fans are saying about it. I'm going to assume that most people like it because a thriller documentary has been like a long time in the making. We've had Bad 25, and then we also had an Off the Wall documentary, which were completely like out of this world, like excellent documentaries. If you want to watch an excellent documentary, like watch those two. Those two were directed by Spike Lee. And I haven't seen it in years. Like I definitely want to go back and rewatch them because they were that good. It was really good and really in depth. Thriller documentary was good, but I honestly don't know if it was as in depth as it could have been. And I'm gonna go into why in a minute. And of course, like I said, I want you guys to chime in on what your opinions are. Because I really don't know like what's going on in the fandom. Like if people were really that excited about it. I know at some point last year when the announcement was made that people were excited about it, but like, it's been a year, so I don't know. But anyway, let's just jump into it. So, obviously, I think what most fans, including myself, were really excited about was to get new footage. So, when you're a fan of someone who has passed, like, you just really appreciate getting new footage because, like, you're like, I'm never going to get to see anything new from this person again. And then we do. And it's like, oh, it's like, thank you for this. Although I will say that, like, some of the new footage was kind of like cut. It was like they didn't really show the whole thing. And I'm sure they did that on purpose. I know they want to try to like save things for later on, but anyway, we got new footage. At least it was new to me. We got some like studio footage of Michael with Paul McCartney doing "The Girl Is Mine," which is really cool. And we even got like some more footage of like him with John Landis on set of Thriller and just things like that. It was just really nice to see. They showed quite a few clips from Victory Tour. I feel like most of that we've already seen because a lot of like I feel like they already kind of have like Victory Tour shows on YouTube, so you can easily like look that up and it'll be on there. But it was nice because it was like good quality and it just felt nicer to see it like that. Um, and then should I get into the criticism of it? Because I don't want to make it seem like it's bad or like I didn't like it because I actually enjoyed it and it's actually something I feel like I want to go back and rewatch because there might have been some things that I missed. Um, but one of the things that I immediately thought after it ended was like, where was Quincy Jones in all of this? Did I miss him? Was he there and I just didn't see it? Because I feel like they definitely showed him in old footage, and I think they even had audio from like an interview probably that he did in the past. But like, there was no like Quincy Jones in it. Like, how do you have a Thriller documentary without Quincy Jones? Like, Quincy Jones was at the center of Thriller the entire like Thriller era, like the making of, like after it was released, when Thriller came out and it blew up and he became a megastar, like Quincy was there for all of that, like when he won his Grammys. And so I thought that was kind of odd. I don't know why he wasn't in it. Now, obviously, if they approached him and asked him to be in it and he said no, I guess there's not much they can do there. But if they didn't ask him or if they didn't try to get him, I'm just kind of like, what's going on there? Let me know if y'all know, like, what's the tea behind that? Because I know that there's some people in the fandom who aren't really fans of Quincy Jones for whatever reason, or feel like, he gets too much of the credit. A lot of people will say, like, well, Thriller wouldn't have been Thriller without Quincy, or, it is what it is because of Quincy, which is true. But I guess some people feel some type of way about it. But despite what you think about him personally, he was there for Thriller. And I feel like like he was at the center of it. He's a big part of the making of that. So the credits were rolling and I'm just like, where was Quincy? So y'all answer that question for me. Where was Quincy? I really want to know why he was not a part of this at all. At least it didn't look like it to me. And so I guess that would be one of my criticisms. But again, it depends on why he wasn't in it. I don't know if he has any type of relationship with Michael's estate or if he works with them at all. I guess if he doesn't, then maybe I don't know. But I thought that was really weird that he wasn't a part of it. Um, the other thing that I thought too after watching it was they did not mention Vincent Price. And I'm like, again, how do you talk about Thriller, the song, without Vincent Price? Like Vincent Price is one of the most memorable parts of that song. Um, and there's a whole story as to like how they got Vincent Price and him being in the studio, and they didn't talk about any of that. So again, I just feel like the documentary was good and I enjoyed it. And I love that Thriller is being talked about and that, that we're talking about Michael in terms of music and celebrating like the legacy that he left behind instead of focusing on negative things. But I don't know. I don't know if it was as in depth as it should have been compared to Spike Lee's documentaries. And I feel like because it was Thriller and because we're talking about the biggest selling album, that there should have been a higher expectation. You guys let me know like what you think. Yeah, I'm seeing my cousin Janelle say Quincy Jones. Yeah. So I'm like, where was he at? And again, with Vincent Price, like they did not mention him. I don't think they mentioned him at all. I just feel like that's odd. I don't know, like, you guys let me know what you think, but there's, like, prominent parts of Thriller that they kinda left out. I mean, I think they went over, like, the basic stuff, and some of it, I feel like us fans, like, we already knew about, but it was still kinda cool to hear the stories again, or to have people that were actually in the studio with him, or, like, people who actually played on the records talk about it, and some people have passed on, but they had, like, a good group of people talking about it. And then they even brought in like Usher and Mary J. Blige, when I know they probably intentionally put them in there to kind of maybe bring in more like general fans to hear like what other artists are saying about him and how that impacted them, which was cool. Because we know like Usher was like super, super influenced by Michael. But again, I was just kind of like, well, what happened with this and what happened with that? Like there was a lot, I feel like, that they didn't really go in depth in or that they didn't even mention. So those were the two kind of like main criticism I had with them not mentioning Vincent Price and then them not mentioning Quincy Jones. So, or I shouldn't say they didn't mention him, but he wasn't in it. So they had him in there like old footage, and a lot of it is stuff that we've seen, but we didn't really get his perspective on it from today, and I think that would have been nicer. Now, like I said, I know some people maybe aren't fans of his now because he's older and he's pretty blunt. I feel like when he does talk, like he doesn't really hold back anymore on what he has to say. And I guess some people don't like that, but I still think it would have been a good insight to have him be a part of the documentary, even if he just did like one small interview, just to have him in there. That would have made a lot more sense to me. Um, and then I guess the other criticism or the other question that I think a lot of other fans had too was the film was directed by Nelson George, who is a journalist. He's like a music critic, so he's been around in the industry for quite a while. But I think a lot of people were kind of like, why him? Like, why did he direct this and not Spike Lee? Because like I said, we've seen Spike Lee's documentaries and they're really, really well done. Like those are way more in depth. I feel like Bad and Off the Wall was like way more in depth than they did for the Thriller. And I feel like it should have been reversed. I almost feel like Thriller should have been at the top because of, you know, how much went on during that era and they didn't really do it that way. And I don't know why. But I'm curious to know why they didn't get Spike Lee. And again, I don't know if it's that they asked him and he turned it down, which I don't see why he would. Maybe conflicting schedules, I don't know. Or if they really just didn't approach him and they were just like, let's get somebody new. I don't know. I guess that's a question for John Branca and the rest of it, Michael's estate, because they're the ones that are making these decisions behind the scenes. But I felt like it would have been a little bit more in depth if Spike Lee had done it. So I'm just going to say that. But I'm not going to say that I didn't like it because I actually really enjoyed it. And um, I think it's nice. I think it's really nice for like general fans because people who have been fans of his for a long time, they kind of already know the story of how Thriller was made and like, you know, the songs that were taken off and even like him going on tour with his brothers instead of doing a Thriller tour, which I always find that to be that's always like blows my mind that like this was his biggest album and he went on tour with his brothers and did a victory tour and he did not do a Thriller tour, which I know that was not his decision, but that will always be like the thing that baffles me about this whole era. But they talked about that quite a bit, which is cool. But I feel like for the most part, like what they were talking about is things that fans like me, like people who are like huge fans of his, like we already knew that. So I think it almost seems like the documentary was more so geared toward like general fans, like people who maybe don't know how Thriller came about or people who don't maybe know a lot about Michael's career and or like early on. Um which again is cool. Like I understand that the estate wants to bring in like general fans and new fans and not just his core fans, but yeah, that's kind of what I think about it. Like it was good, but I feel like there should have been a higher expectation for it simply because it's Thriller. And on top of that, it's the 40th anniversary. That's a big deal. 40th anniversary. And the album that came out with it last year was actually pretty good. I feel like that one was better than some of the other like remixed versions of like Michael's albums that the estate tries to put out. Like they since Michael's passing, like they put out a ton of albums and a lot of it is like hit or miss. And I feel like Thriller 40 was pretty good in general. Bad 25 was probably like the best one that they did, to be honest. That one was like really good. And then, you know, I won't get into like the Michael album that we all know was a fraud and then some other things that they put out that to me didn't really seem necessary. It really just looked like they were just trying to make money. And I don't care for that. You know, I think like I said, his essay is kind of like hit and miss. Sometimes they do things and it's cool. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Like this was actually a pretty cool project. And then other times they do things and I'm like, this feels really disingenuous and it just feels like they're just trying to make money or they're just trying to capitalize off of Michael not being here anymore. And you know, it's just kind of like it's iffy. I don't know about that. And I won't get too much into the estate, but um I yeah, I just feel like there should have been a higher expectation. I don't really know how else to say it. You guys let me know like what you think. And if you haven't seen it, like do you plan on seeing it? Um, do you feel like it'd be worth your time to watch? I mean, I don't want anybody to listen to this and think, oh, I'm not going to watch it now. I want you guys to watch it for yourself and to form your own opinion on it. It is available on Showtime. I don't know if I said that already. It's available on Showtime and you could watch it on Paramount Plus. So that was how I was able to watch it. If you're signed up with MJ's like estate, they have like a newsletter that they put out, I think every month. And so I got the email that said like, if you use the code, then you get to, you know, Paramount Plus for like a month for free or like a week or something like that. And then so that's how I was able to watch it. So I would recommend if you guys haven't been able to do that, to do it like that way. If you have Showtime already or if you have Paramount Plus, then you already have access to it. It might also be available on Amazon Prime. I'm not too sure. That's something that I'd probably have to Google, but
But yeah, it's out there for people to watch. So I definitely want you guys to like watch it and form your own opinion. Don't just watch it. Don't just listen to me and think like I'm not gonna watch it. Cause like I said, it was cool. Um and it's nice to just get back to the music when it comes to Michael to talk about like the journey of his career. And I think they were really intentional about not going too far off into his personal life. I think that, you know, they had moments like, for example, they mentioned the Pepsi commercial because that was like a thing, obviously. Like that was when he had that terrible burn and how that kind of essentially affected him the rest of his life and everything. They touched on that, and I feel like that made sense because that happened during that time, and it was a big deal, and it, like I said, it affected him forever, and that's kind of what started him on like the pain meds and being dependent on that. So they touched on it, but they didn't go too far into it, which I thought was kind of smart to not make it about like his personal life or to talk about his surgeries and all that kind of stuff. It was just like, well, this is what happened at that time, and this is how it was reported, and this is kind of how it affected him. And even though like that happened, like he still, I mean, he still went on and was still doing promotions and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like that completely hindered him, but it was like a big deal. And I can imagine at the time that that was like, oh my goodness, like Michael Jackson's like in the hospital, and that picture, y'all, that picture is iconic with him with the glove, and he's like laying in the hospital bed, and they have his face covered, and oh my goodness, I can only imagine like what that would have been like to see that at that time. But so yeah, I feel like they touched on, for the most part, like a lot of the big significant things that was happening during that time. But again, they left out Quincy Jones, they left out Vincent Price and the whole story on that. And again, just the who they were choosing for the director, I don't know if that was the best choice or not. And that's not to like criticize Nelson George, because I'm sure, like, you know, if he's a journalist, and I'm sure he knows his stuff when it comes to music. But I don't know, like, how much, like, does he really, like, even like Michael, you know? And I feel like with Spike, it was different because they worked together. So he personally knew Michael. They did, if you guys don't know, Spike Lee directed They Don't Care About Us. So he worked with Michael, and Michael was a fan of his, and they respected each other. And I feel like that came through in the documentaries that he did. Whereas like with this one, it didn't really feel like I don't know if personal is the right word, but it didn't necessarily feel like it came from somebody who really loved him as a person. So again, I don't know why they chose him. That's something for the estate to answer to. I don't know, but I'm hoping that if they continue on with this path of doing documentaries for each album, then I'm assuming that maybe they would do one for Dangerous. And if they do that, I'm hoping that they get Spike Lee again, or if not Spike Lee, I'm hoping they get someone who was maybe like a part of the making of Dangerous, like somebody who can tell firsthand what was going on, and how things kind of came to be. So I don't know, but overall it was good. I'm not going to really give it a rating because I don't really like doing that. I feel like you give something ratings and then it'll change. So I plan on watching it again. And I feel like if I say, oh, I feel like it was a 6 or 7, then it might change later on. So I'm not going to give it a rating. I'm just going to say that I enjoyed it for what it was. But I, again, I feel like there should have been a higher expectation for it. Um, Especially because they were like promoting it, like, you know, like it was this big thing. And then it kind of, I don't know, like it didn't really, it wasn't the best documentary about Michael's music. I'll say it that way, in my opinion. But I liked it. So I don't know. But I'm really curious to know like what other fans are thinking, like the fans within the community, like people on Twitter and stuff, because again, I haven't really been privy to what's been going on there. So I don't know like what people are saying. So let me know in the comments, like if you're part of like MJ fandom online and stuff, like what you thought about it. And if you haven't seen it, do you plan on watching it and things like that? And also, if you want to go back and listen to my episode on Thriller 40, the album, I actually did an episode about a year ago. I think I just titled it Thriller 40, but you have to go like way back in my videos. It should still be there. Um, and then I think I even did a Halloween episode last year on Thriller, and I was talking more so about the short film. But I've done a couple episodes around Thriller, which is funny because I don't really, you know, I don't tend to talk about music on this podcast. I kind of stick to like film and TV, but I just feel like Thriller is so, it just transcends music. Like it's forever a part of pop culture. So I feel like it makes sense to talk about it. And then also obviously because I'm a big fan. So how can I not talk about it, right? But yeah, so if you want to go back and watch those old episodes, you can. But I kind of just wanted to like circle back around to this because I know that this was like something that was being talked about online amongst fans anyway. I don't even know like what the general public is saying about it or if it's really on anybody's radar. I mean, from what I seen, I was reading that like it had a pretty good rating on Showtime. So I guess people are watching it. I don't know, but I'm kind of curious to know like what people are saying about it and if it's something that they'll kind of continue to do. If they'll continue to make music documentaries based on each album or like each era of Michael's, because there's a lot of other good stuff that they could be talking about. But I think it was significant to do this one because they had already did Bad and Off the Wall, and obviously like those first three adult solo albums of Michael, I think it's just like really, to me it just seems really prominent to his career, like the way it shaped him. Like Off the Wall set such a foundation for his other albums. And I think because of, and they talked about this in the documentary, because he did Off the Wall, and yes, it was successful, and yes, people loved it, but it wasn't received as like pop. And I mean, it wasn't a pop album, but it wasn't received the way I guess Michael wanted it. A lot of it was categorized as just like R&B or like pretty much like black music. And he was really smart about doing Thriller because he knew like this is what's going to get me to cross over to white audiences. And even so, to the point where they forced MTV to like they're like, you're going to play Michael's music and you're going to play his videos and people are going to like it. And that's what they did. That's what Michael wanted and that's what they did. So you just really see how much like Thriller changed things, not just in music but just even like opening doors for other artists, for the way MTV changed after that. Like it's funny to think because obviously like MTV isn't really like prominent with younger kids anymore, but to think of how big it used to be and to think that they weren't playing black artists at one point, or that they weren't playing like anything other than maybe like rock and maybe some pop. It's just like, come on. I don't know why they like, I don't know why they were so hesitant on it, because to me it's like it just made sense. Like you saw how popular Thriller was and you're not going to play it. Like that did not make any sense to me, but anyway, they made it happen. But that's just what I'm saying. Like it just like it means so much to people, and it still means so much to people, and it'll continue to mean more, so much to people. And then you have like kids who are discovering it for the first time, and um people maybe who are fans of Michael, but maybe just don't really know like the backstory of the album and really what was going on at the time. Like I feel like there's so many people who would get kind of introduced to like the story of it. And I think that's kind of cool to still tell that. And I even remember like when I was a kid having the making of Thriller on VHS and watching that. And I was like so obsessed with that. I thought that was so cool. So the fact that they made that deal and that's how they got that's how they got MTV to pay for the video was like really smart on their part. Um so just little things like that really like I feel like that stuck with people for so long. Like people just really care about it. And that's why I said I feel like it transcends music because it almost like puts a timestamp on like where you were in life when you're like, oh, I remember hearing the album for the first time. Or I remember like watching the video for the first time and having like goosebumps. Like I remember watching it being scared, but also being fascinated. And that's why it always stuck with me, because I'm like, this is really creepy, but this is really cool. Like I don't know if I want to like be Michael or if I kind of want to be with him, because I thought he was really cute, of course. And it was those like moments that like really stick with you. And so like I said, I'm really glad that they finally put out a documentary about Thriller, but um I don't know. I can't really say that it's my favorite documentary of Michael's, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, I can't really complain about it too much, but again, I am curious to know. I want to see what y'all think. Let me know in the comments like what do y'all think about the documentary? Um and how I want to know how it's going to be received, or how it's being received from the general public, because obviously, like, you know, if you know that there was a lot of like negativity about Michael at one point for a while, and then I feel like that kind of died down, and now they're trying to bring it back to the music, which I appreciate, but um I really want to know like what it is that people, I guess, are thinking about it. Like, do they even care about the Thriller story? Is what I'm saying. Obviously, people still love the album and the music, and we know Thriller gets played around Halloween like literally every year. And I think, who was that said that in the documentary? I think it was like Maxwell or something like that. And they were like, "You're gonna hear Thriller like every single year, every single Halloween." The way we hear Mariah Carey's song for Christmas, that's Thriller to Halloween, which is crazy when you think about it. It's kind of ironic because in the beginning of the short film, there's a message that Michael puts, and it says, I don't remember the exact words, but basically he's just saying like, I'm not a part of the occult. Like, this is not meant to be evil. This is not meant to promote evil or anything bad. Like, this is just fantasy. Like, it's literally a film for the song. And now it's become it's become a part of this like big thing, and now it really is like kind of like scary, and which is funny because I don't know if he really meant for it to be that way, um but yeah, like it's forever gonna be heard on Halloween and things like that. So I'm just like, man, like I don't even know. I don't know. But like I said, y'all let me know what you think. I'm sorry, I'm getting text messages. Every time I try to record, somebody want to message me. And I'm like, you could have messaged me before I started recording. But anyway, yeah, I think we're gonna leave it at there. I've been How long have I been talking for? It's been like a good 30 minutes. So I feel like I'm gonna wrap it up there unless y'all got something else to say. Let me know in the comments. But if you come across this video and you watch the replay version, of course, feel free to leave comments in there as well, and let me know your opinions on it. And if you kind of like me talking about like musical documentaries, then I don't mind getting into more of those. Like I said, this podcast isn't really about music, but if it's a documentary, I feel like it still fits with what I like to talk about. So I'm open to talking about other documentaries. If you want me to like go back and, I was gonna say, if you want me to go back and react to Bad 25 or Off the Wall, the only thing with that is like copyright, and not just with YouTube, but like MJ's estate is like crazy when it comes to copyright. Like, I feel like if I play 5 seconds of his song, my whole channel will be taken down. So I kind of have to be careful with that. But if you guys want me to go back and kind of do like a reaction or maybe like a review, I could do that. I don't mind going back to revisit the documentaries. Or if there's any other music documentaries that you want me to watch or talk about, I can do that. But I just had to talk about this one because I'm like, this is Thriller. Like, we got to talk about this one. And also too, like I said, because I talked about it in a couple previous episodes, and so this, I was talking about it last year. So the fact that it's out now, it's kind of like full circle moment to be able to talk about the documentary now. Um, but yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for next week. I don't think I'll be doing another live anytime soon, because Christmas is coming up and there's too much going on, and I don't want to promise that I'll be live because I probably won't. But I do plan on putting out new videos or new content, and I still have some more interviews coming forward, so I'm excited for that. And if you missed my last video, I did an interview with actor Mark Hampton, which was a really cool conversation. He's like a really nice guy. He has some films coming out, so if you missed that, you can go back on my channel and watch those videos as well. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's it. I think that's it, y'all. But anyway, thank you for watching and tuning in. I appreciate any likes and comments. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do, because I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. And you can also follow my podcast page on Instagram and on Facebook. I try to post on there. I try to post like reels and kind of like updates on there. But if you want to see full episodes, if you want to see like full length videos, it's going to be here on YouTube. So again, make sure you're subscribed, and you can click the little notification bell so that way when I upload, you guys can get notified. And then when I go live, you'll be the first to know. And Yeah, I think we're gonna go because I don't really have much else to say about it. I want you guys to watch it for yourselves and let me know like what you think. And we'll be talking about more later on because I'm sure that there'll be more to talk about with Thriller, with Michael, with any other documentaries. I'm sure of it. And honestly, like I'm just waiting for I'm just waiting because fans on Twitter are messy about this kind of stuff. So I'm just waiting for something to come out about the documentary, or it's just going to be something like messy. I feel like it's going to come out. So we'll probably have more to talk about later on. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.